for those that do know me, you may know me as a little bit of a rebel. This is really nice, but I'm used to skating on a hockey rink, and I like to go all over the place. So I hope you don't mind. I know you're going to mind at the back on the cameras, but what a great opportunity for you to be here and kick things off. Even though we are now, and I can't believe it, end of September, and we've gone through really, in some cases, a whole month of hockey season in our country. What a great chance for you, though, to be in a room of like-minded people that are committed to the great game of hockey that we have. We are very fortunate to work in our game in a full-time environment, and certainly for Hockey Canada, as you saw with Mandy's passion. But the real joy that we have is being in a room like this with volunteers and staff members or other parts of our game, coaches, referees, parents. That's really what this is about. It's not all about, the end goal of what we do for the game, but it's about celebrating the volunteerism that makes our game so great. And Mandy kicked off with a little bit about why we did some sessions in May at the Hockey Canada Spring Congress. And it was really a thought around creating workshops for professional development. It's great to set rules. They're valuable, they're needed, they certainly add some ease to what we do. But we have to realize that you come from all walks of life. Some of you put up your hand and asked to be involved. Some of you maybe got twisted a little bit in the arm and told you really need to be involved because there's nobody else. But how are you trained? How are you enriched and prepared to handle what we deal with for a 7, 8, maybe extended longer time than that period of time to make our game so good, to make Hockey Manitoba as good as it is? One of these topics that we addressed was conflict resolution. And I had no idea why at that time my boss came to me and said, you're going to do this little presentation. But part of it is my background comes from officiating. So I think in some way they figure that a referee is a subject of dealing with that. And I appreciate that. But then I tried in my presentation in May to look at my wealth of experience through my growing up. I was fortunate. I drugged my dad to the hockey rink at the age of 6, and I said, I want to play the game. And he goes, well, okay. But then my dad not only just took me to the rink, my dad did what you're doing. He got involved. He got involved in coaching. He got involved in administration. He got involved in Minor Hockey Association of Calgary. He really took it and said, I am interested in volunteering and being proactive and making this experience for those that we offer this game to as good as it can be. I was pretty lucky, but I had a chance to watch him. I had a chance to learn from him on his experiences of what he dealt with. And my God, are we in a different world today? Back then, we didn't have as big of a system as we have now. We played in a small community. Evaluations were not a pressure point for us. It was a matter of whether or not we could ice 2 teams in that age category. It's no issue then. But now, what a monster we live in sometimes. How you deal with now the expectations of a very affluent, very demanding, very educated society creates a need for you to reconnect and prepare your volunteers. Not only you, but those that you work with. You are the lifeblood of what makes Hockey Canada go. And that may be hard to swallow once in a while because you go, yeah, it's all up top. But no, at the end of the day, you make this game work for us. And so how you and your volunteers handle the pressures and the diversity that you have in administrating this great game comes with one of these topics, and it's conflict resolution. Because not everybody in our game has the personality of Bernie Reichert. Not a care in the world. Nothing bothers that man. You know what? All these pressures that we tend to deal with, if we all had that kind of ability to let it go off our back, not care, not let it eat us up, man, it would be a lot of fun. We'd all be in here as long as Ray Brethor has been in the room. It's really important that you have the ability to work with your people on making sure that they have the tools and the comfortability and the self-assurance to handle the kind of things that we deal with out in that game called hockey. With that in mind, this is really common sense. And I'm going to sprinkle, if you don't mind, a little bit of that officiating to / administrator, because a little bit more about my history. Yes, I played the game. Yes, I got involved in officiating at a young age. Yes, I got involved in administration on officiating. Then I turned into a parent, a coach, a hockey administrator like many of you, and then back into the officiating. So I've had a little bit of pathway, and I think I can sit in your chair and sort of see what you deal with as well. With that in mind, conflict resolution, big topic. I said in May to our counterparts, I said, I have no clue what I'm talking about, really. My wife would tell you that. There's times that I don't exactly handle things the way that I probably should. But this is one of those reminders that really we should take a look and say, what can we do better? How can we make sure that those that we deal with are treated fairly? How do we make sure that those that work with us also have that same kind of mantra? If life was easy and we had a simple tool, or in this case a wheel, that we could just spin and say, let's deal with this situation with whatever comes up, there's a tool for everything. There is no app for conflict resolution. It is a big topic, it is a changing beast, and we have to be prepared. With that in mind, how many of you have gone through your evaluation process at this point? Hands up. So the hands that aren't up, you're just getting ready for that thing called evaluation. We sign up and we think we're going to do things well. We're organized, as Mandy said, we've got rules, we've got structure, we've got it all ready to go. And then comes that dreaded evaluation time where pressure is put on us to treat the kids fairly, to put them in the right spots, and to deal with those parents that have high expectations of us and our organization. We have. This is supposed to be the fun period of this hockey season. Yes, the end is really fun because it is the end. We can take a breath and enjoy summer. But this is really when we're excited. We've done our preparation. We're ready to go. But we can hit that skid mark really quickly when we get hit with a lot of confrontation and politics and things like that in the game. What did you get yourselves into? I asked myself this question when I became a parent and got on our board locally in a minor hockey association. Small one, 600 kids, not a big deal. Midget age category was the biggest we had, or oldest we had. We only had 3 teams at that point, but we had 10 novice teams, and we had 10 Atom teams. And I went, holy cow. And I asked myself, why did I get involved? Because how many of you are volunteers? I was with you. I didn't get paid for this stuff. I said I'd like to do it. And I didn't at that time have a full understanding of what I was getting myself into, but I did say this. I want to get involved, and hopefully you're much like this, to make the game better, to make the system better, to make our program better. That's what people maybe didn't believe that's why I got into it, because I had my challenges along the way, as many of you may do. But that's honestly what I had to keep reminding myself. I am a volunteer that got into this to hopefully make a difference for the kids that play the game. I had 3 young boys. My wife will tell you that September she didn't see much of me. I missed a lot of my kids' evaluation times because I was worried about the program. I was worried about that whole beast of dealing with the fairness of our program and getting kick-started. Huge, huge commitment. But I believed that was right. I spent 10 years on my association locally, And I value every minute of it. It's amazing, though, how you look back and you go, wow, that was a big effort. There were some pebbles along the way on that walk. But at the end of the day, I will not regret putting my hand up to volunteer. I will say this, too. It's amazing how many people were your really good friends through evaluations and through hockey season and through your life on an association that you will never speak to again in your life. They were really, really good friends, but how quickly you become expendable because you're not the people that make a difference to them anymore. With that in mind, some of you may have been those kind of parents that made people like me get involved or you get involved. Because you wanted to really change things. You thought that, you know what, this system is corrupt, so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to set it right. Because we have some of those too. We already answered this question, and I think it's really important as you go through this weekend. You are your own support group. That social later on tonight, the coffee breaks tomorrow, the lunch tomorrow. What a great group you have here to share some stories and work through some similar situations that others might have different answers for. And what we did in May is we actually did this as a workshop where we did an exercise just like that. We shared our own problems and asked for other people's opinion on how I could solve them in the future. Because our toolbox needs to be so full now because of the diversity of the type of people and the type of situations that we deal with. My dad, as I started officiating at the age of 12, my dad said, "You're going to learn very quickly, son, that you're in a position where you're going to make decisions on the ice and you're going to have to work with adults." Now, the kids are the easy part, truthfully they are. The adults in the game are the ones that we tend to run up against that barrier with. And so he tried to tell me, and I'm going to come back to this over the course of the weekend, but my 3 sons, 2 of the 3 took up officiating as well. And I had the same kind of reflection on them. You know what? How you behave with other people and how you choose to deal with them or to, if you will, create the line in the sand with is so important. Combat is optional, but conflict is inevitable. You say that the reverse way, it probably makes more sense. Conflict is going to be there. We have that over whether or not what's for dinner tonight at my house. We have conflict. But how we tend to escalate that into a combat situation, you make a choice on that. And that's where you have a unique opportunity, but a huge ask on you. You were asked to tuck your ego. You were asked to be the calm and the level-headed one. You were asked to be above them. So much of what you do involves you being above some of the people that you have to deal with. And that's a tough thing for us sometimes as humans, to choose to not get into that battle, but to deal with it in a dignified, in a respectful manner to get to where we need to be. This one does have a tie to officiating, and I live it every day. Last Monday, for example, a person I sit right beside coaches Bantam AAA hockey. I get a clip from him. Here's the penalty that was called on my player. What is your opinion of this call? Because it resulted in a 2-game suspension for his player. And I have to keep trying to say there are 2 sides to every story. Sometimes there's more. But guaranteed, most times, there's 2 sides to what's going on. I was one that I grew up inside the glass. Okay, I played, well, it was fence when I started, right? The chain link fence on the outdoor rinks. But I played in there, and that was my bubble. And then when I became a referee, I was inside the bubble. When I choose to then become an adult and a parent, some will still question whether I'm an adult, but then I was outside that glass. I don't like that view so much. I was one of those parents that said, you know what? I don't want to be around you. I want to be in the far corner by myself because I have a different view because of my experiences of being an official. I don't want to be in a conflict situation with parents on our own team. One team we were on, I'd like to call him a good friend, but he was just a friend. He was the president of our association. I'm on the board with him. He knows my background in officiating. It infuriated him, sorry if I stumbled there, but that I wouldn't get mad at a referee. When I coached my kids, I never had a bench minor penalty. There was no value in me arguing because it took away from what? The kids' experience. I wanted not. We can talk about things after the game. I don't need to. Well, he got so aggravated at so many games and booted out of the rink and suspended by the Minor Hockey Association in Calgary that time. And it bugged him that I would never sit near him. I'd never stand near him because I had no time for his kind of actions. I couldn't deal with his volatile behavior. I had a different view on the game than he had. Going back to that video clip, I have to try and explain that, you know what, you as a coach on a bench had a view that wasn't the same as the official. The view that we're looking at over my computer screen is from a camera on the other side on a wide angle. You have to appreciate that people have different views on the game. They have different views from different angles. Not only that, they have just different views on the game. And you have to be a master of understanding the beast that you're dealing with and take into consideration that they might have a difference of opinion with you. But you don't turn that into the line in the sand. I apologize in advance if this maybe is a little bit risque. The point here is the same dilemma, the same situation has a different effect on maybe different people. We have some deep snow, but to one person, the problem that deep snow caused is different than the other person. This is no different than what we deal with. We have conflict in our situation, or we have differences of opinion, and you know what? Within that team of 16, within that age group, within that association, you could have multiple different situations to deal with, all with the same scenario. I chuckle. I look back now and I still go, you know what? I can't believe some of the arguments that we had over things like team numbers. How many kids on a team? Those kind of things. And I went, it's silly. But at this point, this is a problem for those two animals in the field. And we have to deal with it. But we have to deal with it in often different manners. And that's that master of all. That's that wizardry that you're expected to have and paid so well to have as a volunteer. God bless you. Because you know what? This game needs you. This game needs you to have that patience and that strong belief that you're going to do something right no matter what and how and who you deal with. Conflict, we said, does happen. It can happen over little things. How you choose to deal with it, how you respond, people watch that. They watch so much. I remember being in a rink for long hours on a Saturday and Sunday. And you know what? You're dealing with the young parents and the young kids early in the morning. They're just happy to be there. Everybody's in a good mood. By the time that 10 o'clock ice time hits, you're dealing with the midget parents and the midget players. And it's a long day. And man, they just watch your body language. They watch how you speak. They watch who you're talking to. You've got to be so careful in today's environment. So careful in how you carry yourself. Stephen Walkerman, the NHL, talks about it as comportment. It's an important factor now, even though you are the volunteer. You're expected to be above their level. You're expected to be the mature one and the one that is above them. So how you react. God knows we've got to care, because we should. That's why you got involved, is to make this game better for who? The players on the ice, the players that we're trying to attract to this game. So how you react is a big thing. So many times I'd love to say that, but I just can't. On this one, there's no question that there's different triggers. And you know what? This slide will populate here, but I'm just going to deviate for a second. It's really interesting as we educate officials in our game. how we talk through the grassroots or the house league hockey and how they deal with things, but how unique changes happen at different levels of hockey. We had a university coach come and address some of our top level sixes in our country. And he says, listen, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the jersey, or you may just be the scapegoat for me to send a message to my players. There's trigger points that in minor hockey that kids watch for as a referee or entry-level referees watch for. But at the top end, there's trigger points that we have no clue about because that coach is using us for his own purpose, and we have to be aware of what those trigger points are. Some of these are easy. Trigger points happen and aggravate people when fairness is in jeopardy. You have robbed that Johnny that opportunity of playing Team 1. You have taken away an opportunity of playing on Bantam AAA because of your rules, because of your process, because of your evaluators, because of your system, whatever that may be. You have suspended a player because of your rules, your decision, whatever that may be. Fairness, trigger point. We know that. We protect our own, right? We protect our kids. I remember going to bat for my son because, you know what, the school says he did something wrong and he's got to stay for detention. Back in my day, my dad would have said, who cares? Keep him. Me and today's generation is, no, teacher, you must be doing something wrong because my kid wouldn't do that and you're treating my child unfairly. It's a trigger point, a real big one. Respect. Respect their opinion. Respect what they get in the game for. Safety. Body checking. You know, we move that age level up to Bantam. And all of a sudden you've got players entering the game at Bantam, and we've got that size differential. And if you don't run body checking clinics before evaluations and train the players on how to receive a hit, you've put little Johnny or Susie at a disadvantage because you haven't educated them well. You've put their player in jeopardy. For us in this room, reputation, number 9. Our integrity as volunteers, our integrity of good, bearing people. We're doing this for a simple purpose, and that's to make the environment for those players the best it can be. We get aggravated, we get triggered when our integrity is put at risk or challenged. This is a part that eats me up. This is a part that will take me and cause me nothing but grief as an individual, is when somebody challenges my integrity or my reputation. And that's a real thing for you that you've got to watch on how you then, there's trigger points for them, but trigger points for you. How are you going to react when these happen to you? There's certainly different sources of conflict. We know that there's goal-oriented people out there. We know that there's those people that expect to play on the top teams. They expect to be given the opportunity to allow their child to compete with the best because that's where they belong. Their goals can get into an escalated situation because they're only caring about their individual. What really threw me for a loop as a volunteer is for those ones that threw a curveball at me as an association president. They walked into the rink and they said, "Come over here. We want to talk to you." Here we go. What's going on? Well, we really don't care what team number we are. You see us group of 6 parents here? We get along really, really well. We have barbecues in the summer. Sometimes we camp together. Guaranteed we are the funnest group of 6 in hockey season. We'll host every parent party. Just bring it over to our house. Our kids, they don't care what team number they are on. They just want to be together. And I'm going, holy smokes, thanks for the burst of reality. You guys are real. You don't care like the other ones have their goal of being on the top team. Your goal was to just enjoy the environment that you're in and allow this game to be as what it is. Fun. Wow, refreshing. Caused us grief because how do we put them there? Who do we move up a team that don't belong there? Different goals. You've got to be a master and understand them. Personality conflicts, my God. My God. How do you deal with personality conflicts? Great question. The group that's coming in 5 years behind you, they're going to ask the same thing. But this is really where your patience and your belief of what you believe in, and that is to constantly remind yourself that you are in it for the right reason. And that, if you hold that true to your heart and go to the rink every day or answer that phone or that email with that in your mantra, that will keep you on the straight and narrow to handle those different personalities that you may encounter. Styles. There's the quiet ones that sit in the back, wait for things to happen, everything's all good, talk behind your back, then pounce. There's the loud and proud that want to challenge you all night long, all day long. You've got different beasts to handle. You don't know who you're dealing with necessarily because we've gotten into such a diverse society. I remember it was really easy. I had 3 amigos who were two of them were ex-goaltenders, one an ex-NHLer. Their 3 sons were goaltenders. And these 3 amigos would walk into the rink every day, and they would challenge us. So, we didn't like the drills last night in the goaltender evaluations. You know what? They weren't very awesome. And who do you have evaluating here? What do you mean? Well, they don't know anything about goaltending. Well, yeah, I'm talking to an ex-NHLer, not a Hall of Famer, but he did play. But at the end of the day, their style was aggravating to me. It was exhausting to me. Every day that coffee would go cold because those guys walked in the rink. He was like, oh my God, here we go again. You will run across those kind of people, you always do, but you also run across those quiet ones that are just waiting for the end of the line where they're waiting for one thing, that one trigger point that's going to come after you. And with that in mind, you have to be, again, very aware of your situation, very aware of the style of people that you're dealing with, and how you're preparing yourself to act and respond. Values. There are people that want to put their kids in the game for what it is. Their values is to create them a lifelong hockey experience that will make their kids better humans. Great values. And then there's the ultra-competitive ones. Be ready to understand both. I went through a situation where we had that third group of kids trying out in novice. Now, those parents were new hockey parents. The kids were brand new, right? Kids would step on the ice, their skates aren't even sharpened. But at the end of the day, they don't care that they're novice 9 or novice 10. They're just playing the game. They didn't care about our silly rules of you must go through 6 skates and there's going to be kids that move up and kids that move down. They could care less. Hurry up, get this over with. We know we're on a team and it's at the bottom. We just want to be here. Different values can throw curveballs at you in your role as a volunteer. Knowing the source of conflict before you react will make you that much smoother, that much more effective, and Hockey Manitoba will get more out of you because you then will be able to control that environment that you're in and be able to be a valuable volunteer with experience that will not see them having to retrain people every single year. Knowing what's coming around the corner. Communication, Mandy talked about it. Sometimes communication can be a great thing. Other times it'll create the barrier for you. This didn't come from a picture of my wife and I this summer, but it could have, because you know what, we talk about just get in and paddle. We just forgot to tell each other which way to point. With that in mind, this one's a simple diagram. This one is supposed to make sense. It's a matter of knowing how you can deal with things. And it's a great checkpoint for me, because it's really easy in this game and in how much we deal with. We could be very, very domineering. And I want to see this little bit of, look at this, eh? This technology. Isn't this great? Look at all these screens, Peter. Wow, that's great. Forcing. It's great to have a vision. You know what? You've poured a lot of time and energy into creating the structure, the rules, the policies around your hockey association, or they've been put in place for you, and you're going to follow them. It's great to have that and say, this is the way it is. You know what? Really don't care how you feel, but that's the way it's going to be, and you're going to enjoy your experience. Not always going to win, because there are those differences of opinion. So that one's risky to get into, about a style to handle the conflict. There's a time that you have to be forceful. There's a time that you have to be confident. But confident versus cockiness can turn a really, really quick curve on us and go the wrong way. Go down to the bottom here. This one in the corner here, uncooperative, avoiding. If you were a volunteer that put their hand up at the beginning of this and said, I got into the game to make a difference, but you don't want to face those tough questions, if you don't want to deal with that and just think they're going to go away, you're not going to be supporting your hockey association, or better yet, your partners in your situation or your association very well. You've got a job. You did softly put up your hand to be active and have a role in this game. Not always the best thing to run and hide on it. Up in the top right, collaborating. This would be really great, but that's giving in to everything. That is turning around, and there's no no's in my vocabulary. A hockey team does have a limit of how many skaters can be on it, right? So I can't move everybody to team one, because it's just not going to work. So I have to have some resolve in my commitment to knowing that there's a threshold of how much I can make everybody happy. Down at the bottom, accommodating. Same idea. Just give in, and you know what? Have your way, you win. No, there is rules for a reason. You did get involved for a reason, and that is to make sure that things go as they're supposed to in your hockey association, and you are able to treat all with respect. The magic one, and the reason that you're no doubt here, is because you are very good at compromising. You are very good at being able to find the solution to make the situation work for you and support your association and make this game what it is. I learned this, maybe the hard way. Apparently, they get offended when you treat them the way that they treat you. It's amazing, but we're not allowed to be that. As I said earlier, be above them. Quick message, little message, and I say this because we do live this. Rules or structure Mandy had a great point. You need policies and procedures. I'll give you an example where it can cause problems, and I can skip over most of this slide. Minimum suspensions. Everybody know what those are? That took away the volunteer having to make a decision on a suspension. A player gets this penalty, they shall receive this suspension. No hearing, no human contact, no right of debate or listening to the other side of the story. Made life really easy for you in this room, because the game sheet or the electronic game sheet or the report that you may get, this is not my decision. This is the policy standing up. That's the suspension. But it creates grief, believe it or not. It creates conflict. It did in our office. This guy's 6'5", for crying out loud, sits behind me. He's mad because his player is suspended for 2 games because of a major penalty and a game misconduct for boarding. It's got to be the referee's fault. Bad call. Stupid rule. The other kid didn't deserve that, or the kid didn't deserve it. The other kid, yeah, he laid down. Yes, the trainer came out, but my God, it wasn't that bad. Suck it up, get up, In his eyes, his frustration, his conflict with the process came as a result of that minimum suspension that said, major in a game misconduct for boarding assessed to this player results in a 2-game suspension. Nobody was at fault there. It was the structure, it was the policy. It does create a stress level. And so with this, we have to be aware that sometimes we have to just explain just that. It's the system, it's the policy, it's not my decision, it's not the world is against you. It's like driving down the street. If I'm speeding over 10, Constable Mahoney will tell me that the fine is this. That's what we live in. This one's going to turn quick. We have to continually remind ourselves we're not going to get along with everybody. We're definitely quick. I bet as you walked in this room, you look around, probably go, hey, that person looks nice. Hey, you look like a good guy. You don't need to talk to you. We scout the group out. We definitely look around and see who we want to deal with. We might not like somebody just by the way they look or carry themselves, and you're probably going, your time's up, Anderson, get off. With that in mind, it's real. I go back to my statement, and I kept saying this to my kids as they refereed. The coaches or the parents are often not mad at you as an individual. They're mad at the sweater. But sometimes we do run across those people that just strike us the wrong way once in a while, right? And it's real. You know, Mandy and I work probably about 4 feet apart. When I'm in Calgary, that is. But with that in mind, I didn't see her presentation. But she brought up these 2 words, information and communication. And she did tie this together, unbeknownst that it's in this presentation too. It's great to have information. But the art of knowing it's communicated well is the level of understanding. My example was just this. We put out evaluation guidelines. It told the parents exactly what was going to happen over 6 ice times. It told them exactly where our plan was to move players up and down based on numeric value, scores, and how we were going to get to the end result. That was all great. We did process the information. We posted it. We were upfront with it, transparent. We did it all. The thing we didn't know is whether or not they received that information, digested it, and actually understood. And we didn't know then it was actually communicated correctly. That's part of our task too. Too much communication, too much blabber, too much back and forth, too much trying to justify can also cause more frustration, more on our end. The back and forth of trying to rationalize with somebody over a decision or an action, that can exhaust us. That takes away the lifeblood that I have for what I do in this game. And so with that, too much communication can cause for a stressor for me and create the conflict between the other party and I. There has to be a line. There has to be a point we say enough's enough. My wife tells me that, right? It's enough. That's enough conversation. Now just do it this way and we're all good. Move on. Too much communication. This point in the night, and Peter, hopefully I'm close to being on time here. At this point in the night, this is where we broke in Spring Congress. And we actually did a little bit of that sharing. And we won't do it here because of the sheer volume and that beautiful assortment in the back of the room that we're all looking forward to. But this is something that as an exercise you could do back home in your association. And that is to spread the word and give them the tools on how to handle things. And this little example that we did is we had you as a table sit and share some of the situations that you might have dealt with back last year, or maybe already this year. Could have been a tough player transfer, could have been a parent problem, could have been suspension. But we had each table do that little exercise. And then we sort of tried to find out which one was the worst. And then we moved that problem over to another table to other people that weren't involved in that and asked for their opinion on how they would have dealt with it. You are in a great room here. You have a wealth of experience from veterans in this room, but you also have some very, very brilliant people, I'm sure, with fresh ideas. And that's where we need to get better. Mandy closed off one of her statements of sort of doing things always the same. Well, a good friend of Ray Brethor's, Albert Einstein, says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again with expectation that the results are going to be different. This is where you get the chance to open your doors and stock your toolbox with some of the things that might work for you back home. Never mind on this topic, but on the whole program throughout the course of the weekend. Think of it. Expand your knowledge to be better. Because if you're better and you're more enriched, that makes back home seem a little bit more enjoyable. And if you can educate and give support to your volunteers in areas like this and arm them with tools to handle the situation, you'll tie into tomorrow's presentation on recruitment and retention. But with that in mind, that will make your life a lot less stressful yourselves, because then you're dealing with people with experience that are happy and supported. With that in mind, that is the kind of exercise that we would have gone through. I leave you sort of with this. Key takeaways, we've said it. There's communication that can cause stress, but it can also create the barrier for you if it's too much. There's certainly structure in our game. Policies, procedures, rules, regulations that cause stressors. They cause the conflict, not you. Personalities, absolutely. We deal with it every single day. I'm sure Constable Mahoney, when he's in the room tomorrow, can tell you that there's many that will happen tonight somewhere around Manitoba. Differences in values. Be aware. We're in a very unique society right now. The differences in people's values and how you have to deal with them, be above them. Understand them, respect them, and act on them in the manner that you would like to be respected and dealt with them yourself. With that in mind, this was a great saying that, you know what, I saw it and I went, geez, that's a great sign. You don't have to attend every argument that you're invited to. I went, wow, that's pretty good. I saw it many times too late, but that's a pretty good little statement. You know what? I leave you tonight. I know that Scott's going to come on and give you a great presentation here. Like I said to you, it's a real treat to be in a room of volunteers that are here for the right reasons, and I hope you are. And you know what? Enjoy the opportunity to fulfill yourself with other tools this weekend, and go back and be energized and enjoy the best year that you can. Thanks very much.